Hi, everybody. Welcome to the latest episode of the Impact Series hosted by 40. My name's Michael Palmer. I'm one of the co-founders here at 40 and lead recruiter. And today, very, very happy, pleased to be joined by Thomas Duscha, who is a CEO and co-founder at Swobbee. So Thomas, welcome to the show.
Hi, it's I'm glad to be here today and have the opportunity to speak with you about the topics that are touching the world right now. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, look, Thomas, for those people out there who are not familiar with Swobbee, not familiar with yourself and the business, can you talk to us a bit about the company, the sustainability or the kind of climate issues that you're helping to tackle, and of course, your specific solution to those particular issues?
Yeah. Okay. So maybe I tell a little bit who we are, where we come from. Company has been established in 2017 by me and my co-founder. We are pretty much tackling the problem of the non-existing charging infrastructure for light electric vehicles. What we do is pretty much providing a battery swapping network that allows you as a user of a light electric vehicle to have the highest uptime you can imagine by swapping the battery instead of charging your vehicle at the spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Well, carry on. Carry on. Start. I didn't mean to jump over you there, Thomas. Can I keep going?
Yeah. So just imagine like you're riding on electric moped, a two-wheeler, you're running out of juice, you are opening our app, searching for the next station, you reserve the battery. You are at the station, you take out your empty battery and swap it for a full one and ride on in less than 30 seconds. So what we describe ourselves in our analogy is being the gas station for micromobility. And obviously we do support different battery systems, especially for light electric vehicles, because our one stated goal is pretty much to support mobility that is smaller than a car, because we do not
Okay.
believe that electric cars will solve our urban problems or topics. Yeah.
Okay, amazing. So we're talking about sort of last mile delivery, food delivery as well. Is this Thomas? Is it just B2B or is it also B2C as well?
Yeah, for now it has been always B2B, last mile logistics, like you pointed out, on cargo bikes for the traditional, let's say, parcel delivery companies, as well as food delivery and fleet operations for shared mobility like Tier, Voi, Bolt, and
Yeah,
those players that are now in the market. Now we're moving a little bit more into B2C, as we are also supporting, mobility solutions for gig workers or for let's say delivery drivers who are riding for food delivery platforms and so on. So sometimes, in some cases, they are our customers and even get a vehicle from us, including the battery and the
right.
access to charging infrastructure. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, so like a full service solution, not just the battery then.
Exactly, an end-to-end solution, a mobility solution which covers your vehicle, your juice, your battery, and even maintenance. So it's car-free. We started it by the beginning of this year, piloting with a couple of players, and now we are just testing the market if the
Yeah.
B2C model can work in Europe. We know it works elsewhere, in Asia, for instance, India, but still validating the European case.
Okay, very interesting. Well, perhaps I think we'll probably come on to talking about developing countries like India and Asia as well a bit later in the show. But in terms of like the battery charging stations at the moment, so I mean you've got quite a few of these out in the field so far, is my understanding, right?
Yeah, we're hitting right now 90 stations across Europe. We are in different countries, so pretty much the rollout strategy or go-to-market strategy was always follow your customer,
Yeah.
because usually they ask us for, let's say, assistance or distributed charging in highly dense areas, in complicated cities where they can't find a warehouse or charging facilities. That's where we come into play with our stations that have a very low footprint. They're like a rack equipped with, um, fire resistant, safe compartments that are charging, monitoring the batteries, the whole process, and so on. And the footprint is less than 1 euro pallet. So we can place at strategic places the stations that are being used by our customers. And the most dense, let's say, public network that could be accessed by B2C customers is obviously in Berlin. But we cover countries like Portugal, Spain, the Netherlands, Germany, Poland. We've started in Greece as well.
Okay.
So we always follow the customers where they have the biggest struggle to, to have efficient operations. Yeah.
Cool, super cool. And they look cool as well. The stations, they're very eye catching. They're super cool. So I think we'll include a link to your LinkedIn pages, but also your company website as well, so people can take visually get a look at what the charging stations look like. Okay, I mean, that must present itself some challenges. I mean, you mentioned there are lots of different providers like Bird, Voya, these other kind of. So I'm presuming they're not always using identical batteries. So that must present a kind of logistical challenge to kind of, have the right charging facilities for all of that. How do you kind of overcome that?
Yeah, you name it. The battery market is quite fragmented. We see, let's say, some kind of consolidation going on, like battery concepts becoming very similar, out of shape, and so on. But still, our strategy is pretty much to integrate batteries that are coming in masses to the sharing market or last mile mobility, um, then thoroughly integrate it into the system and then provide it to the biggest off takers, which are obviously sharing operators right now. And luckily, over the last 2 years, the predominant players in that field were Segway, Ninebot, and Okai. And with two of those companies, we are working close together. And on e-moped mobility, we just launched our first new product. And I think when you think about e-moped sharing, you will always see NIO there. So we said, like, let's tie up with those companies that are bringing the great vehicles into the market. Let's integrate their batteries, and that's how we are overcoming the fragmented battery market. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And also, like, so, I mean, as an industry, so we've got these smaller light electric vehicles, like you said, smaller than a car. This is the kind of market you're serving. Obviously you've kind of gone to market in Europe very successfully by the looks and sounds of it as well, Thomas. What are, I mean, are there plans for expansion into other territories, so into other parts of the globe? Where there are the other large user bases like the US, or of course, like you mentioned earlier, into Southeast Asia, India, places like that.
Yeah. Look, whenever you have a look at us, you always see that station, but the station is always solving different problems. First of all is, let's say, battery ownership and the capex that you usually put into your batteries, which is a huge problem if you think about the emerging markets that need to decarbonize their transportation sector heavily. If you go to India, you will face so many 2 and 3 wheelers, right, that are now predominantly running on combustion. But if you want to change that, you will need to come up with a scheme that is called battery as a service, where we disattach the battery ownership from the actual vehicle and turn the capex of the battery into opex. So pretty much being the same like with a combustion engine, the people are paying as they go for the battery, like they're used to do for gasoline, right? For petrol.
Right.
So that's one topic that we are cracking there. And if you have a look at the US market, actually, um, let's take a look at New York, for instance. They are having something in between that is numbers around 100,000 of gig workers delivering food. Those guys are inevitable, like those, like they're so crucial. Imagine us being at home and not being able anymore to deliver
Yeah.
food or whatever you
Exactly.
need.
Yeah.
I think the Western world would collapse. Not only the Western, in India you have the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
Like, um, what they've been facing over the last 2 years were heavy battery fires with deadly casualties. And the state of New York is pretty much forcing the semi-commercial charging of batteries, which means you are a gig worker, right? You're self-employed. Then you are charging your batteries at home on a commercial level because that's for your daily business,
Yeah.
right? If that goes up in fire, you are like you're in deep
You're
end,
liable.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
you're liable, and often probably it will be lethal for you as well, right? So the mayor is forcing now all those batteries that are not regulated, are not UL listed or certified, to not be able to be sold in the market. And he's also forbidding charging in residential buildings, where we
Okay.
actually can jump in, bring high quality batteries into the market that are UL certified and follow the international standards, right?
Yeah.
As well as we are monitoring that highly unregulated process of light electric vehicle battery charging, because
Yeah.
not there are standards in place, but not to that level like with an EV, like a classical four-wheeler car, because there everything is pretty much standardized. You have your protocols, you have your plugs that the international wide have been accepted, and so on.
Yeah.
But on e-bikes and so on, it's highly unregulated, so we jump in there and try to solve the problem by delivering a safe charging solution to the community riders. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that sounds like a huge growth opportunity for you as well. Like you said, in New York alone, 100,000 riders of those particular vehicles, etc. Um, so yeah, if they're no longer able to charge um, their batteries at home residentially, they've got to find a way to do that elsewhere, or they either revert to fossil fuels or pedal power, muscle. So I mean, by offering that solution, that sounds like a really good way around to kind of manage that problem, but also offer a really good solution to that and make sure it's safe. I mean, like you said, in some of these very, very densely populated cities like New York, we were talking about it. I think the other day we were talking about Dubai, places like that. Obviously, lots and lots of huge apartment buildings. If you're having a battery fire in an apartment building, I mean, look, the casualty rate on that is going to be incredibly high, and it's incredibly dangerous. So, yeah, sounds like a great opportunity, business opportunity, but also one that can help the people and the society in that just as much.
Exactly. It's on the one hand, it's a business opportunity. On the other hand, it's also a sustainable way, to manage actually resources that are in kept in batteries more efficiently than if all those companies would need to do it by themselves.
Yeah,
Having a look at logistic companies, some of them are having 2 or 3 batteries on a cargo bike, which doesn't make sense. Why should you pay for 3 batteries when you pay just one subscription for one battery, and you are eligible to swap the battery whenever you want? And let's say you are paying effectively for 1.3 batteries instead of 3.
yeah,
So
yeah,
there is nothing worse than those raw materials being kept in batteries and underutilized, in my
yeah.
opinion. Yeah.
Well, well, I had a discussion with someone similarly, but it was about car EV batteries, and I think the stat was something like 90% of the time an EV is sitting stationary on in a car park or on your driveway or somewhere like that, and obviously all of that. Yeah, the kind of battery and the life that's within that, quite often they're kind of relatively fully charged. So you've got 70-80% of the battery that is very, very rarely used, but because of the way that the kind of the charges are charged and things like that. So there's a lot of gaps in obviously there's a lot of good that we can derive from electric vehicles and electric mobility, but there's still a lot of gaps to address. And like you say, we're going to need more and more of these materials. We know that there are risks and kind of economic, environmental issues associated with mining some of these materials, and obviously social issues in some of the developing countries. So there's lots of challenges to face and solve. And it sounds like Swobbee has got a good solution to at least some of those, Thomas.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah, and we're trying to close more and more gaps in terms of circularity. Also, the European Union will force European players to recycle batteries. Soon, 6% of your battery needs to be from recycled materials. Actually, there's also a plan to keep those resources that are coming from elsewhere into the loop, because the actually beautiful thing about battery metals is they're very pure, and
right.
over the usage and when they coming again into the like in the circular economy, like when they get it recycled, the purity will even go up, right? So we should do everything that is possible to keep them where we need them, right? Instead of shipping them around the world. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. Let's talk a bit about the sort of the company so far. Then, so you said you started about 5 years ago. Yeah. What sort of size of the company now? What stage are you at? I think as well, we discussed this. You're looking at sort of some fundraising coming up as well.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. So we are 50 people, heavily engineering background, right? Most of us are coming from either automotive, automation, or aviation industry, or let's say all of us have been working somehow together on batteries or on charging. We have for, let's say, for the rollout team, majority of us are coming from the, let's say, urban planning sphere or geography. So we have kind of yeah, I would say we have a very strong engineering background, and this has been a knowledge all around the world. We are quite diverse in terms of where we have been born. I think we are currently counting on 50 people, like 80 nationalities. And we're trying to increase diversity as much as possible. We are now this year have closed like a plus round, like an A extension,
Okay.
and next year we are planning for the B Series B, because we are planning overseas expansion in India as well as in the US, and that's why
Yeah.
we are preparing, or gearing up for the next round. I would lie if I would say this is not a capex and hardware intense business that we're in, but as it's often said, you will not face or not solve all of the challenges that we have out there related to climate change or global warming with software only.
Yeah.
There needs to be smart solutions, and there need to be hardware related solutions. That's why we are opting next year for very, very extensive funds to
Okay.
tackle those problems. Yeah.
Sounds well. Look, exciting times ahead. Then now, obviously, we know that the funding market, the market for for venture capital funding, equity funding, has changed quite a bit in the last year or so. I mean, what are your kind of thoughts about about funding at the moment, availability, how hard it is to come by? Do you think perhaps next year it might become hopefully a little bit less onerous to kind of receive that in line with your own
Mm,
Series B raise? Or do you think we'll be in a similar situation to we are at the moment?
it's hard to say due to our macroeconomic situation. I feel like it's losing, like getting a little bit better. We've also closed that extension of our A round this year, which was maybe surprising even to our current investors, that it went that easy, right? But we see that all of the companies out there, they're dealing with mobility. Like majority of them are having problems. Sometimes I think it's really they've they got so much money that they
Yeah.
didn't care about efficiency and profitability in the first place, right? So I've been monitoring some of those companies, like getting funds in and in and in, and blowing up those like organizations. And I think if they prove that through, after this consolidation phase and so on, that they actually can do it profitable, and we see ourselves as cornerstone on the path to profitability for those companies, then there will be a boost again, right? But mobility, dark clouds over mobility startups right now, I would say. Despite of this, we all know that all the trends, all the numbers are actually showing that we need alternative forms of mobility, right? Not only electric car mobility, but in the end, new, well combined ways of getting around. And I think that the mobility trend is just the beginning, at the beginning, and all the indicators are actually showing up that the numbers of vehicles, of the users, will go up, so funding will also recover. But for now, it's not the easiest job to raise
Yeah.
money for a mobility startup. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, obviously, there's a little bit, you got a bit of time between now and now and next year. Like you said, we're not, we never know what's going to happen in the macro economic climate, but let's hope that the world is in a bit of a better position next year, and that, like I said, the purse strings loosen a little bit. I mean, I think, look, perhaps with yourself though, Thomas, not be it directly, although part of your business is, like you said, micro mobility, but it's obviously the kind of the cornerstone of the businesses are the stations and the battery swapping. Yeah, perhaps for yourselves, you'd be, hopefully it would be a little bit easier. You're more of a facilitator to that industry, and therefore, you're providing a service to that industry, which is, there's a huge amount of usage. There's a huge amount of light electric vehicles out there already, where you can bring value to. So fingers crossed for you, Thomas, that that
Thanks.
you have a successful round and raise bucket loads of money to take Swobbee to the next level and successfully launch into the US and into India and into other markets. Well, I think that kind of takes us right towards the kind of end of our allotted time here, Thomas. So it's been a pleasure having you on the show. A lot of kind of cool, fun topics that we've covered there, and look, I'm sure once you've had that successful raise next year, you're going to go on to even bigger and better things, and we really will be looking out for for news of your launch into the States and into India, and perhaps we can get you back on the show and we can talk about some of the learns you've had, the kind of ups, the downs, and how that has gone as well.
Yeah, I'm quite excited. Maybe we have the opportunity next year to jump and do a follow up on this call. The exciting thing about going abroad, like to India, is actually that you care for people, that you're creating solutions for people that are actually making money on a two-wheelers, that are, paying for the daily bread and the education of the children. So
Yeah.
purpose and impact is coming back on let's say on our radar again, and on big scale. So yeah, thank you for the opportunity, and hope to speak to you next